Thank you again. I want to thank all of y'all for being here with us and working together as a team. But in particular, I want to thank Secretary Chow for bringing us together. Let's give her a big hand for bringing us together. Thank you so much. Here with my neighbor, Chris Smith and I actually have our offices right next to each other, so it's always a pleasure seeing Chris Smith here. Human trafficking is one of the most heinous crimes on earth. Combating human trafficking is an issue that transcends partisanship, ideology, and it's one that calls on our common humanity. How are we supposed to take care of one of each other? And this is why we have to work together. Human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal industry in the world, generating more than $150 billion in illegal profit every year. According to the U.S. Department of State, the United States is the destination country for somewhere between 14,500 to 17,500 men, women, and children that are trafficked from all over the world and brought into the United States. These victims are trafficked for the purposes of sexual or labor exploitation. The average age of missing children who are exploited through sex trafficking is 15. Just think about that, 15 years of age. But progress has been made, and we got to work together toward preventing victimization before it occurs, identifying, recovering victims, as our Attorney General said, providing coordinated services to help survivors heal and thrive, and bringing to justice those bad apples and hold them accountable. As a member of the Appropriations, I've worked with my colleagues like Chris Smith and other folks to make sure that we put the resources, but to make sure that we coordinate. Just to give you a couple of the federal agencies' responsibilities, the U.S. Department of Transportation combats human trafficking by working with the public and the private sector. The public and the private sector stakeholders, as it was mentioned a few minutes ago, to empower transportation employees or the traveling public to recognize and report possible instances of human trafficking. DHS investigates the bulk of sex and labor trafficking cases involving foreign nationals. The FBI takes the lead on investigating domestic minor sex trafficking cases through their Innocence Lost initiatives, and again, the Department of Justice, and it goes on. We have to make sure that we work together. And a lot of the things is to make sure the public reports. The hotline in 2007, the national hotline handled over 51 cases. In 2018, it handled a lot more folks, and we got to make sure that we get the public involved. I mean, simple things. For example, think about a hotel. If somebody goes to a hotel and says, I'm paying cash for this room, I want the door to be facing out and not inside, I mean, that will tell you something. So whether it's in transportation, in an area like this, I've told the Secretary, we get 14,000 to 16,000 trailers a day, just in one location. And at the checkpoint that we've had, which is a border checkpoint away from the border, if it was a port of entry, it would be the third largest port of entry in the country. Thousands of trailers have come in, and Border Patrol has done its job at stopping people there that are put in those trailers. So again, we all have to work together. And again, whether it's the Department of State, whether it's the Department of Treasury, whether it's the Department of Defense, whether it's the Department of Interior, whether it's the Department of Agriculture, whether it's the Department of Labor, whether it's the Department of Education, whether it's the United States Trade Representative or the Agency for International Development, I can go on and on and on. Monies have been appropriated, but we have to work together. We have to work together. I'll just close with this. Mark Twain said many years ago, thunder is impressive, but it's lightning that does the real work. Think about what he meant by that. We just can't just talk about it. We actually have to roll up our sleeves in the public and private sectors, roll up our sleeves and get the job done. And today, by making the pledges and making the pledge and making sure that we all work together, we want to make sure that we save those lives from being exploited. So again, thank you, Secretary Chow. Thank you for your leadership. We're here because of you, and we say thank you. And to all of y'all, thank you, and God bless America. Thank you so much.